Hello, we are on lesson 1.5 today, so solving literal equations. So basically what you're trying to do is solve either an equation or a geometry formula with multiple variables for any particular variable. So we may not have numbers filled in, we're just kind of rewriting for one set variable. So an example here, and this is just a quick one, but if I am putting a shed in my backyard, the shed I'm looking at has a base of 5 feet, that's important, and a square footage of 40 square feet. I know the depth of the shed as well. Well, I need to know it, sorry. So how can I find this? So you want to think about what that formula is. Typically that will be given to you, but for square feet of, and since it's talking about base, we're looking at a rectangular or square base thing. So square feet is represented by A equals length times width, or A, meaning area, equals base times height. So I want to just plug in what I know. So in this case, I know 40 is the area. It gave me a base of 5 feet, so I'm using this one. But I'm looking for the height, also thought as the depth, okay? So those words are sometimes used interchangeably, so I just want to kind of show you that there, okay? So height may also be mentioned as depth. So if it's just stuck together like that, we don't actually need the dot, but it could be there. So all I'm doing is inverse operations. So to solve for a variable, use inverse operations to isolate the variable. So in this case, I would divide by 5, which would give me a height or depth of 40 divided by 5 is 8 feet. So that's how we would usually do that. And now we're going to move into doing this with just without having numbers actually plugged in. So on each step here, so we're going to start off with just some one steps. The top part here is your review. So hopefully you remember how to do these from your first notes, and I'm actually or your second lesson of notes. I'm actually gonna pause here and just fill in the answers. So I want you to pause on your end, do this review part on the top here, okay? So 1 through 4 there, and then we'll work through the literal on the bottom, 1 through 4 together, okay? So pause, work those out, and then check your answers. Okay, hopefully you're checking now, and that those are the answers you should have got for each of those. All right, now we are going to look at the literal. So the difference here is they do not have numbers plugged in for their variables. So we are trying to get one variable alone still, and I realized I forgot to write which one we're solving for, so I will do that real quick for you. So for 1, I'm going to solve for A. 2, solve for D. 3, solve for R. And 4, solve for M. Okay, so then looking at this should look really similar to our top one here. So I have A plus B. If I want A by itself, well, this is plus B, so I can subtract B. But the issue comes here is C and B are not like terms because they are different variables. Like terms mean they have the same variable. Okay, so if I can't do that, I just kind of leave it as is. So I'll bring down the A equals, and then if I just have C minus B and they're not like terms, I just write C minus B, and that would be done, okay? All right, 2, solve for D. It's minus E, so then I want to add E. And then again, F and E are not like terms, so I just have F plus E. Okay, 3, solve for R. So C is usually standing for circumference. This is a circle formula. It has 2 pi R. 2 pi and R are all being multiplied together there. So what you want to do is divide by anything you don't want over here with R. So in this case, it'd be divide by 2 and pi. And if you divide something by itself, it just cancels out because it would equal 1. So I canceled that. I'm left with R. And over here, I divide by 2 pi, but there's nothing I can like cancel out there, so I'm just going to leave that as c divided by 2 pi. I could rewrite that to where r was on the left, but for equations it doesn't necessarily matter. All right, 4, solve for m. So this right now says, I think this distance equals mass over velocity, I believe. So solve for m, that is m divided by v, since it's shown with this little line here. And the opposite of that is times by v, to cancel it out, because it's over itself. Times by v on this side, so m equals d, you can just write it dv or d times v, either way. Okay, moving into 2 steps. So again, the top, sorry about that, the top should be review. So go ahead and pause the video and just do the top part for review. And then we'll come back and check our answers. So pause where you are. Okay, hopefully you're checking your answer on 1 and got x equals 7. Decide to go ahead and work through 2 and 3. So 4 equals 2/3 y. If there is a fraction, to move that, you want to multiply by the reciprocal, which is just the flipped fraction. Okay, so I'm going to multiply by 3/2, because when I multiply a fraction by its reciprocal, it gives us 1. So I'm just left with y there. And I multiply by 3/2 on this side. So that's 3/2 times 4/1. So 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 1, because I go straight across, is 2, which simplifies to 12 divided by 2 is 6 equals y. Okay, and then 3, I want to move this divided by 2 first. So I multiply by 2 to cancel it, and I multiply 9 by 2. So then I have 7x minus 3 equals 18, and then just go from there, add 3, 7x equals 21, divided by 7, x equals 3. Okay, now when we're looking at that for solving the literals, so no numbers in there. So 1 says solve for the length. So I want to start by moving this 2w by subtracting. I can't combine that with p, so I just do p minus 2w equals 2l. Well, it still has the 2 with the l, so I divide by 2 to cancel that. And on that side, I can't simplify that with everything, so I'm just going to leave it divide by 2 on there. Okay? All right. 2, solve for the base. So again, multiply by the reciprocal. So 1/2, 2/1 is the reciprocal. So that's just times by 2, so it's like 2a. So 2a equals, remember, attach b is timesing by h. And if I want the base by itself, I would divide by h. Divide by h on this side, which we can't do since those are just variables right now. So b equals 2 times the area divided by the height. All right, 3, solve for w. Okay, start by multiplying by m to cancel it in the denominator. So that's m times s equals w minus 10e. So I want to add 10e over here. So remember, I can just write m times s as sm plus 10e equals w. So these look a little crazy because there aren't any numbers in there. We're just essentially rearranging. Okay, now looking a little more specifically at some more formulas. So these are going to have a few operations. You're still doing these inverse operations as you would with a regular equation, but we're just moving around. So I'm going to try the odd numbers on the left and have you guys try the ones on the right. So 1, solve for a. So I'm trying to move things away from this a. I can start by combining my like terms. Sorry about that. Okay. So I know I have like terms are negative 12a, negative 2a. B and CD don't have a like term, so those are going to have to stay by themselves. So we can move this either way. I would probably add the 2a. So I have negative 10a, and I'm going to go ahead and subtract this b at the same time because I know I want to move it away from there. Okay, bring down what we have left. So CD, and now minus b. Okay, a has a negative 10 with it, so I want to divide that off and just put it over here. And it's done. Okay, and I'll show you 3. So I'm going to start, I'm going to multiply this reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2 over 1. Also just the same as 2. So when I write over here, I'm just going to write 2. Okay, then I would want to divide by h. Okay, so now I have 2 times the area divided by the height equals, my parentheses can go away now since they were just grouping these, b1 plus b2. I want b1 by itself, and that stands for base, by the way. So I'm going to subtract b2 off. So my final answer is b1 equals 2a divided by h minus b2. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a minute. I want you guys to try 2 and 4 since those are similar. Okay, hopefully you are just checking your answer here. I did want to note something on number 2. So when it came to this 6x plus 6 divided by 3, you could actually simplify that. I would go ahead and accept this because you didn't make all the necessary movements. But since 6 and 6 are both divisible by 3, I could make that 2x plus 2, okay? Either way there. And here was your answer for 4. Okay, and now finally we're looking at some volume formulas. So a cylindrical silo. So we have a, like the whole grain if you know much about farming. So they kind of go up like a cylinder, right? Has a volume, so that's our V, of 1,570 cubic feet and a radius of 5 feet. So the radius is halfway across the circle, so that is right there. The farmer wants to know the height of the silo, so we are looking for H here, to make sure his conveyor belt is long enough. The formula for a cylinder is provided over here. What is the height of the silo? So what you want to do is plug in what you know, and then solve for what's remaining, okay? So I know V is 1570, R is 5, and I also know that pi is 3.14. So let's plug those in. Okay, so I have kind of all of that except the H. So then we want to just go ahead and simplify what we have. So I can do, in my calculator, I'm going to do this part right here right now. Okay, so 3.14 times 5 squared is 78.5. So I'm going to rewrite here. Times H. So if I want to get H by itself, I now divide by 78.5. So remember, I had to simplify this 3.14 times 5 squared first. Okay, and now to divide, that gives me a height of 20 feet. Okay, go ahead and pause and you guys try 4. Okay, hopefully you're checking your answer and you got a height of 10 inches. All right, and that is all for today. Just make sure you are showing all of your work and plugging in for your homeworks. Remember, there are selected answers to check your answers on the ones that you maybe aren't sure on. There's a few on each that are left off, but for the most part, they're there. All right, have a great day.